Good evening, everyone, and how are you all tonight? Tonight's live is we are going to be talking about the menopause, and this affects the men obviously as much as the women because they're the ones that it's really important to understand this really integrally important time in the life of a female. And due to all sorts of factors that Jackie and I are going to be discussing tonight, it can be a very challenging time, and not just emotionally, etc., but also for your health, for our health as women. So Jackie has just been doing this course with all the latest information as to how we can really navigate our way through this, and of course all the things that we can do to help ourselves and to make this transition to the as easy as it can possibly be.
I had in 2013 chronic fatigue or post-viral fatigue, whatever you want to call it, and when I came back from that, I really wanted to do something more than what I was doing, which was just going out in an evening and teaching people to jump around and lift weights. There had to be more to this. And so with the whole lockdown and being stuck at home, although to be honest, I was busier than ever because I went online and I was working with people in Birmingham, and I was working a lot with MS Centre, and I had my own online hub that I started then, which is still going strong now. But it gave me that opportunity to link in with training that I just would never have got my hands on, because everything went online. And it was amazing, it's fantastic. Yes. So I did a couple of courses, fitness-wise, that I've really been wanting to do. But then I realised that actually I could really focus on the women's health side with this, and found a company that were fantastic for women's health and all teaching women's coaching and things like that, and did the third age menopause course with them, which took me about 5 months. I finished it literally at 10 o'clock on New Year's Eve. I was determined I was going to finish it last year, and I just did. I got my certificate for midnight. And since then I've done, and I love it, absolutely love it. I've been working with the local MS Centre in our area, and we've developed a course, and we're on our second course, and we've got the third one about to start in my home village in Tarbert at the end of this month. So that's really exciting as well, and it's been so successful, changing lives, yeah.
Yeah, and can people that are listening that are not in the area, can they access your course online yet?
They can, yes. They can access this course. We've been running it through Zoom as well, although I need to check how we can link up for that for the next one, because we're doing it in a different venue. But definitely the ones coming from the MS Centre are all on Zoom as well. We're linking up with Zoom live as well, which is great. And then we've got a little, we keep a group on Facebook or email, and we stay in touch between the weeks as well, which is fantastic. So really, with the introduction week that they get, where they can sign up and they get information, some basic information on that day as well. So really, they're getting me for 9 weeks, for an hour and a half for 9 weeks, which is phenomenal. It's great, and sharing my passion.
So let's just take it. Yeah, let's just take it one step at a time and just start off with, before we managed to get you on, I was saying that the menopause doesn't just affect women, obviously, it affects men, and it can affect the whole family, can't it? Because it's just such a powerful transition time for women, and really, to understand it better for women that are, not nearly there yet. It's the whole hormone thing. There is nobody now not being affected by the hormonal stuff. The hormonal cancers are off the scale for men and women. So let's start with some. What kind of symptoms can you look out for that's going to tell you that things
Well,
are going out of balance?
There are 34 documented symptoms. However, there are also other symptoms that are not documented. So your more obvious ones are the mood swings, the hot flushes, headaches, irritability, itchy skin. But then with the declining estrogen, there's so much more that can go on in the female body. So we've got estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone. These are our female hormones. And once we reach perimenopause, the estrogen is literally going like this. So it doesn't just gradually decline, but then once we reach that one day, which is menopause, we then are postmenopausal. So estrogen receptors, there are around about 1,000 estrogen receptors throughout the female body, even to the point where we have them in the inner ear. The hairs in the ear have estrogen receptors. So tinnitus, ringing ears, things like that, receptors in the skin, the gut, the brain, and really everything is affected by the hormones, everything. I think it's just fascinating.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think that, as you said, some of them are obvious. What happened to me was I got post-menopausal arthritis, which I didn't even know was a thing until suddenly I became aware of my joints. And then my neck and all my major joints obviously were more debilitating than just my knuckles, etc. And that's when I started obviously researching and realising, that I don't know what the stats are. I heard that it was, or I read, it was around 25% of women cease to balance inflammation post-menopause. And that is obviously when you become this bed for chronic disease, which is what happened to me. But I think it's more than 25%. Just talking to women, I'm thinking it certainly seems more than 25%. Do you know what the...
Yeah, estrogen protects the body from inflammation. It helps protect the body from disease. I mean, we have, so in the UK population, there are 33 million women. 50% of the whole population is women. And all these women will at some point experience menopause at different stages of their life. At present, there are 13 million women experiencing or going through the menopause transition. So that's just over a third of the population. So it's a high, it's a high amount. The average age is 51. I was postmenopausal suddenly after an operation at 28 with a month-old baby. So every single woman is going to come to this stage of life at a different age and from a different background, a different experience.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing that we're seeing. I was talking to my daughter the other day, and she was saying, I think her hair was coming out a bit, which I've heard a lot of people saying. And she said, I might be perimenopausal. And I said, well, you're far too young. And she said, well, some of my friends are having that already. So what is average, let's face it, but what kind of age would you expect to become perimenopausal, and how long would you be perimenopausal?
So 51 is the average age of menopause. And you still will hear GPs, I mean, your doctor is your first point of call when you start to experience symptoms, and you may go with one thing that's really, really bothering you, and the next time you go with another thing, and they're not linked together. That's a lot of the issue as well. However, like yourself, my daughter is younger, and she's possibly been perimenopause, early perimenopause for a couple of years now. It doesn't really have a rhyme or reason why some women come to it in their late 20s or in their early 30s, and other women maybe reach 64. They say menopause ideally lasts 4 to 5 years, but for some women they experience menopause for a lot longer. And the symptoms can stay with them after that one day where your period has stopped for 12 months. That's that one day, and that is you post-menopausal after that day. So menopause is actually only one day.
Wow. I was 51. That's the day that but you know, interestingly enough, I was 51 and then I moved to Malta and my periods came back like clockwork for a year living in the sun, and then just stopped, and that was it, and never came back.
Yeah.
So we know the sun's you know, one of the main sources for vitamin D, which is a hormone which a lot of people don't understand how powerful natural light is in your eyes and your skin. And again, you know, the body detects light not just through the eyes, through the skin.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just learning every day more and more about how incredible this system is.
Yeah.
So,
and vitamin D is
so we now know a little bit about this. Yes, exactly. So when we now know what the kind of things to expect, so now what do we do about it? How do we make this transition into the wise old woman as effortlessly as possible? Because it can be very debilitating.
Mm-hmm. The first question I usually ask once I've given a little bit of information is, what kind of 83-year-old do you see yourself as? The average life expectancy is 81 or 82. So, you know, we're spending, if we hit menopause at 51 and we're living to 82, 83, we're going to spend a third of our life. In fact, for me, I only had a third of my life non-menopausal. But we're going to spend a third of our life in menopause, and how do you see yourself as that older woman? What do you see yourself doing? Do you still want to have an active life? Do you still want to have an active brain and be able to move and do the things that you wanted to do? So that's really the first question, is how much do you want it as well? You know, how much are you willing to look at your life and your lifestyle? We can obviously go down the HRT route, and for some women it's a necessity to replace the hormones because they're struggling so much. So I'm neither for nor against HRT. I think every single woman is completely different, and it's a personal choice. However, if for some reason you don't want to take HRT or you can't take HRT, then lifestyle definitely is a massive factor for this. So, you know, everything from nutrition, stress management, nature, time in nature, doing the things you love, really looking at inflammation in the body, reducing inflammation in the body, hydration, all the good stuff. We cannot go back to what worked when we were 28 and 29. Is not going to work now. It's just not going to work. Exercise has to be different. Food has to be different. The whole picture has to be looked at. The whole woman as a you know, as an individual.
Absolutely. And you touched on something there that I think is really important, that I know a lot of women have talked about, is brain health and fogginess and not remembering things. And we know that you told me a few statistics about women's health. So could you talk a little bit about brain health and then talk about the difference in women to men?
Yeah. Menopause and the reduction of estrogen places the female at a higher risk of all the chronic health conditions. And surprisingly, brain health, bone health, cardiovascular health and pelvic health actually rate higher than cancer, although it also puts women at risk of cancer. And when we're looking at diabetes and everything, we are at higher risk of all the chronic diseases when we lose our estrogen. So doing everything we can to combat that is really important. For brain health, a woman, once she reaches menopause, is 3 times more at risk than a man of dementia and Alzheimer's. And although brain fog is definitely a factor during menopause, the brain can, in post-menopause, reset, recalibrate, if we give it the right tools.
Yeah. And you know, I was looking at the stats yesterday of how simple carbohydrate affects dementia and Alzheimer's, because I think for a lot of us, cancer, let's face it, nobody wants that for sure, but Alzheimer's and dementia, if you cut the carbs way down or out, your chances of getting it just almost disappear. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that we should really all know about, given how predisposed you could be to if you're vulnerable in that vulnerable group. And you know, one thing, when I had the post-menopausal arthritis, I also had borderline blood sugar, which my aunt had. You know, it was just one of these random things one night. Somebody had a blood sugar kit out. Everybody tested theirs and was like 4 something, 5 something, and mine was 9 something. I was like, what? Because I didn't have any apparent symptoms. And then I started monitoring it, and it went way up. It was going up to 12 and something. I mean, it was really, you know, it was on that type 2 diabetes range. And then I stopped actually measuring it because I started getting obsessed by measuring it. And, you know, and the cold water would put it away down. And then I was like, you know, this is in a state of flux, and what I need to do is just get the average. But interestingly enough, I just got another monitor, and my bloods are way down. So all that work that I did last year with the Gerson therapy and fasting, etc., I was like, whoa, yeah. So I mean, my bloods were at 4.9, and even after eating just fruit, only going up to 6. So I was so happy to see that, because sometimes, you know, you think you're making all these changes, you're doing your best, and you're not sure you're getting the results. But that was because, I mean, unstable blood sugar is a huge issue for the body long term as well, isn't it?
Sorry, I'm going to switch my place, and I'm just going to grab a charger, because I hadn't expected to be on my phone.
Of course. Sorry, I should have let you know that for sure.
The joys of life. Now then, let me find the plug. 2 seconds. Okay.
Yeah, I hadn't actually realised that that's kind of the switch in my insulin resistance. Oh, you've just died. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I'll just carry on chatting until we get her back on. Yeah, that is actually news to me, that when I got post-menopausal arthritis, I read about it and realised that I didn't link my age to the increase or the erratic blood sugars. So that's something else to look out for, because again, that's a classic sign that the hormones are not in balance, and that is actually very easy to balance with food. You know, and also we know from Michael Mosley's amazing research of tens of thousands of people who were diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, the sooner you start to address it, the faster you can heal it. You know, for people that have had it for decades, it becomes more of a challenge. Yes, I'm going to add you back. You need to request, because for some reason it's not letting me. If you just request like you did the last time, then I will maybe be able to find you. Can you request again, Jacqui? Sorry, this is my fault. You can only do lives on your phone. You can't do it on your laptop. Well, that's certainly what happened before. And then obviously what you have to. Oh, here we go. Here we go. That's her. Yeah, so this is really, really important information to know, whether it's affecting you right. It's all to prevent. Yeah, no, that's good. I was just kind of chatting on there about I had no idea that my elevated blood sugars was down to my age. I just thought it was, yeah, right. So that can be a side effect, if you like, or a direct effect of the menopause.
Definitely, yeah. We're at higher
Wow.
risk of diabetes, pre-diabetes, all these things. So really being aware, I think, you know, the more we can empower women and make women aware of this, we don't get this knowledge. We either get told, or you're too young for menopause. I won't give you HRT. I won't give you your hormones back. Just get on with it. It's part of life. It's your age. And we don't get the information that we need to help us manage the symptoms, to manage your aging. We've got you know, brain health, bone health, cardiovascular health, pelvic health. Not just the obvious things, but also you know, not just physically, but mentally it affects women as well. And we need to be able to teach women how to manage these symptoms, how to manage the rest of their life.
Absolutely. And I think, well, for a start, I think being aware that how you're feeling is completely normal, you know, and it can be an imbalance of hormones, which may or may not, you may or may not be able to balance yourself. And again, as you were saying, it's a very individual journey. And I know from a nutritional perspective, the first thing I'm thinking about is fats, and obviously tons of veg. Alkalize the diet, cold water is really powerful. You know, we know all the stuff, the nature, etc. All of that can really help. But if that's not, you know, not helping you with it, because I was tired, I completely lost all my drive. It didn't matter. I was living in Malta and I was just partying every night, so I didn't really have to focus on any business ventures or relationships. But yeah, and you know, it's only sometimes on hindsight you realise, you know, like I think my son said to me, I'm glad to see you've got your spirit back, you know, and because I hadn't really realised that I'd kind of lost that. And again, I think, you know, life circumstances, you can put it down to that, rather than actually realising, no, there's something actually physical, hormonally going on here.
Yeah.
I was just going to get up, there's some questions coming up. So let me see, can you read them there, or do you want me to try and find them?
Oh, look. I can read some of them, yeah.
Can you see, is there anything that you want to answer? Let me see. I recently found out that you're more like to early menopause if you've had IVF, which I did for 3 years, and started perimenopausal symptoms around 46. I didn't know that either.
So
I suppose that would make sense.
IVF is changing your hormones. It stops it stops your hormones for a while as well, to put you into a different hormonal state. So yeah, IVF will definitely change the way your body will come to menopause. The thing is as well that every single woman will come to menopause at a different time and with a different experience. Some of us are coming to menopause, and especially after the last 2 years, after what women have taken on board, completely depleted. You know, we're coming to menopause like drowned rats, and we've already got too much in our system. And so no two women will come to menopause the same.
Yeah, in the same way. Shuna's saying here that she's had a medically induced menopause and was referred the bone strengthening meds, which I've also heard about. Anyway, she advice of alternatives to make sure any advice on alternatives to make sure bones and joints stay healthy, and also for hot flushes that come on suddenly and quickly because of being induced.
Yeah, so I don't know, Sheena, if you can pop up, do you get HRT? If you can let us know as well. Firstly, for bone strength, it is never too late to increase your bone strength, the most obvious thing you can do is to lift weights. Every woman from the age of 30 or around about the age of 30 will have made her maximum bone health for her lifetime. And then that our hormones start to decline around about that age. And then we get the obvious perimenopause will kick in, and then we're declining even more with the estrogen. Estrogen is protective for the bones. However, lifting heavy shit it's never too late. It is never too late. We have to stimulate new growth of the bone, and we can actually increase our bone health by lifting weights and continuing to lift weights into our later life. And you know, we want to be able to lift our own suitcase. We want to be able to pop our own hand luggage up onto the shelf in the plane. We don't want to be that woman that has to ask. We want to be able to carry our shopping up the road so we can get that bottle of wine for the house. You know, we want to be able to do these things. So yeah, we need to lift weights. We need to lift weights. And even though you've had a diagnosis, if you have had a diagnosis of osteoporosis or you're at risk of osteoporosis, lifting weights will help every time. And cardiovascular exercise is important, but the weights are what's important at this stage of life more so.
Yeah, because it's the anti-gravity. I mean, vibration training is brilliant. We had a girl once who had osteoporosis very young, and her doctor couldn't believe after 6 weeks on the Vibrogym the difference in her bone density. And trampolining as well, apparently really good for it. But yeah, lifting weights. Yeah, and actually, there's Ashtanga yoga, which, you know, you're using so much of your body weight all the time, and that can help too. So it's finding something. Well, it's got to be something that you can keep doing, because you know, staying alive in this gravitational field, you have to reverse. You know, you have to push against gravity, or you will just actually melt back into the ground.
Everything from yoga to resistance weight training is great. Yoga, make sure that you're getting the body weight in, make sure you're getting the balance. The great thing about yoga and Pilates and these types of things, and I teach a specific class that incorporates all of that kind of stuff and a little bit of the weights as well, is multi-direction. Moving in all the different directions and strengthening your bones in all directions. But resistance can be as much, it can be as simple as your body weight, because, you know, we've got a lot of weight in the body. We can use bands, we can use hand weights, we can use the machines in the gym, but wee trampolines are fantastic as well, especially for bone health.
Shouldn't saying about your pelvic floor, but you just need to make sure you pee first.
Oh, actually,
I mean, the stats. Your sound's going a little bit.
What has it gone? Trampolining is great for pelvic floor.
Yes, and you know, the stats around women breaking their hips as well is really scary, because, and that's because we've not been doing the multi-directional thing, getting up, moving forward, sitting down, getting up, moving forward, sitting down, and not stopping dancing, you know, stopping skipping and jumping, and probably not doing things that you used to do. You know, that causes because the brain literally unwires and unfires.
The most obvious kind of thing we think of for breaks for women may be wrists and ankles. You know, these are kind of the first things that we might notice, and then upper arm, spine, and hip as well. That when you say about the stats for hips, once a woman, or anyone, but once we've had a hip fracture, we are more likely to end up with full-time care, and our morbidity in the next 12 months to even the next 5 years is so much more at risk. There's a huge risk of morbidity after a hip fracture, so it's really, really important to take care of your bones and your muscles and your joints.
and to dance and to sing and to jump around like a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, with Joe Dispenza's work, when he's talking about how, I mean, it's just simply, if you don't use it, you lose it. So if you're not firing and wiring the brain in all these different ways, and obviously, one of my friends I was talking to at the weekend, she became really, her joints became really stiff and painful, and she couldn't do the exercise that she used to do. And of course, then that's the kind of slope, isn't it, where, well, just rest, and it's like, no, actually, you need to kind of actually counteract, because you start to rust up, literally like an old bike. And you have to like get the oils in, get the water in. It's the hydration, the cellular, and the stress as well, because that kind of unconscious stress that particularly women seem to be really, because they're stressed, but they keep on going as if everything's okay, and then they're literally running themselves into the ground. And I think that's why a lot of long distance running can be the worst thing you can do when you're in that state, because you're putting the body under even more stress. Yeah, so it's really important that you personalise your programme, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. The thing about the muscles and the joints as well is it can be related to hormones, but in later life our muscles and joints are not holding the fluids that they used to hold, and so when you wake up in the morning you think, oh yeah, I'm okay, and then you put your feet on the floor and you go and stand up and everything creaks and everything hurts. So hydration is key at this stage as well, and getting the hydration earlier in the day is going to stop you getting up through the night as well, and it's going to be helpful for the flushes. So you asked about the flushes. Staying hydrated is definitely great, and accept the fact if you're having a flush, accept it, acknowledge it, because then it may go quicker. If you feel embarrassed about it, then it's just going to increase the time frame that you're going to have that flush for. Clothing wise, layers are great if you are prone to flushes. A fan, being near a window, just learning to be adaptable to it as well. Estrogen obviously can be helpful, so hormone replacement therapy can definitely be helpful for that as well. But what's going on is the switch in the brain that has the estrogen receptor, and the estrogen is not getting to it. That causes dysfunction in your heat control in the brain. So the signals are being mixed. And that's basically what's going on with that.
Our signaling system. Now, can we talk about a very delicate subject, drinking wine? How does that fit in with menopausal symptoms?
Yeah.
Give us the good news and the bad news.
I can't remember where I saw it, but I read recently a study that was done, and one of the papers suggested that for women, everybody is at higher risk of cancer and obviously the diseases from alcohol. However, for women, it's doubled. So we need to be aware of our alcohol consumption. Yes, I love a glass of wine, I love a gin, who doesn't? The thing about drinking alcohol is it also will basically cut out your estrogen in your body, so it reduces the estrogen in your body, which makes a lot of sense for me, because for years I've suffered the most horrendous hangovers, and I can have a hangover after one glass of wine, and it just seems so unfair, really unfair. To not be drinking as much as everyone else, and actually to be the one that still can't get out of her bed at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But it makes sense when you realise that alcohol affects the estrogen in your body. And that's why.
Would you differentiate between red wine and white wine, or wine, beer, spirits? Because I know from the gut biome perspective, they all have a very different effect depending on how healthy your digestive system is. What would you say in terms of symptoms?
Red is better. Red is better if you're going to drink wine. However, we do have to kind of keep it in the back of our mind as the inflammatory response that any alcohol is going to cause throughout the body. And of course, with the changes in estrogen levels, the declining estrogen, that creates an inflammatory reaction in the body in the first place. So just bearing that in mind, I'm not saying don't drink, I like a drink as well, but red wine is better, but just bear in mind that you will possibly have a response. It will probably make your symptoms worse. Your sleep is going to be affected. You might have a hangover. Just don't do it too often.
Now, if anybody watching has got any questions that they would like Jacqui to address, please pop them in now. And also, if anybody's watching this on the replay, I'm sure Jacqui or myself will be happy to answer any questions that you've got coming up. But I think really what we want to talk about now, Jacqui, is your course in Tarbert, which people can join from all over the world. Yeah. But also, what about these classes that you're doing that are combining Pilates, yoga, weights? Can you join in with them from anywhere? Are they
this
online?
is a class that I've got my little virtual hub that I've been teaching since lockdown, and at the moment it's all on Facebook. I'm looking to get myself it's a slow process, but a website is in the making. I have lots of different variations of classes that I do online to keep my ladies interested. The one that takes in the weights, it's a kind of twist on Pyo that I used to teach. So it's called Soul Fusion, and it's a little bit like yoga on speed with a bit of legs, bums and tums and a bit of weights mixed in. And it's one of those classes that it's a little bit Marmite for a lot of people, but I absolutely love it. I don't feel, although I feel as though I've really worked myself hard, I don't feel as though I'm left feeling absolutely depleted from it either. It's a really great class, and it takes in all the things that we need to be doing as women to keep our bodies healthy.
It's maintenance, isn't it? It's just body maintenance, keeping all the systems, the joints, the bones, the muscles.
Yeah, but finding something that you
and
enjoy
also the lymphatic.
is the main thing. Yeah. Finding something that you enjoy, finding something that makes you happy. So, it might be going to a pump class, lifting weights, it might be going to a Pilates class and making sure that it is a class that either uses the tools that you can use in Pilates, or uses a lot of body weight and balance. It's really up to the individual, really, what makes you happy. I'm seeing a couple of questions coming up, Lilia, that I'm finding quite interesting. So one of them is, I'm going to have to go back. Susan, estrogen, should it be considered? If yes, what? So estrogen is the kind of main hormone that we think of as females, and estrogen only is what you would get if you do not have a womb. So if you've had your womb removed, you will just be given estrogen. You may also, along the lines, be given testosterone. It is still unlicensed in the UK, and it can be very, very, very difficult to get your hands on. But if you have a GP who is menopause trained and up to date, they may be able to get it off license for you. Estrogen is given to all women if they are looking for HRT, and they can take HRT. Estrogen can be taken in various different guises.
Because they're getting it now from plants, is that right?
Yeah.
HRT.
Yeah, so it's body identical is what you would be asking for. Body identical, and it's made from yams. So you can get it in a patch, you can get it in a gel, you can get a pump gel or a little sachet, and you can also use it vaginally. And in some cases, estrogen can be safe if you are also at risk of estrogen-related cancers. So it can still be used in some circumstances. Progesterone is the other hormone that you're likely to be given as part of an HRT. That is only given to women who still have a womb. Progesterone will protect the womb. So you need progesterone along with estrogen if you still have a womb. Otherwise, if you've no womb, it's just estrogen. So I hope that's given you a little bit of information on that one. The other question, which I love that this one's been asked, was, I'm just going to try and find this. It was about pelvic health. So Lily, I don't know if you can see this one as well. Somewhere it was. Down near the bottom. Where was this question? The lady that asked the question to do with pelvic health down below. Oh, there we go. So it's Shauna. Delicate subject. Would be dry vagina. So that is definitely a symptom of menopause. When we talk about pelvic health on my courses, you can experience different symptoms down below in the vagina. So you may find that you are more prone to infections. You may find that you have intense itching. You may be really dry. You may find intercourse painful. So we go on to this. Once everyone's got to know each other a little bit better, we kind of touch on this subject, and it's actually my favourite one. It should be two sessions for this subject. You may find that you get tears as well. So the lining of the vagina is weakened. It's thinning. There's atrophy in the vagina. So pelvic health is a massive, massive thing for a lot of women. And it's the one thing that it can take a woman maybe up to 6 years to just even go and see their GP about it. By which point, that's a long time of suffering. And in some cases, the female might be told, well, dress yourself up and just make yourself a bit more desirable, or it's just your age, which is, it's such a shame, because it's going to stop you going to places. It's going to stop you wanting to have a loving relationship. It's going to stop you feeling comfortable. You're going to dress differently. You're not going to go and do things that you used to do. So definitely, if anyone's experiencing this, there are things that can be done to help. Keep nudging the heart with my phone there. There are things that can be done to help. Estrogen can help, and if you are specifically struggling down below, estrogen pessaries can be used in the vagina as well to help with those symptoms.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, I've heard that can be a real problem as well. So, I mean, everything really, there's a part solution at the very least. And I think often, do you think that GPs need more training? I know you've got a brilliant one in Tarbert, Sally. I know she's really top notch, and I know people travel to see her speaks. But she's a woman. I mean, I don't mean to be sexist, obviously, but do you think that maybe our GPs need to be much more aware?
Yes, definitely. I mean, we are so lucky here in Tarbert. We have a GP who has been for a long time trained in female hormones, and she's fantastic. She's very difficult to see. She has a waiting list because she's dealing with every single woman in the village, and sometimes she also works on Isla. So if you're on Isla listening, you have that GP. I think once a month she comes as well to Isla. There is free training. So if your GP is not up to date, you can get free they can get free training. I know they're very busy. But like I said right at the start, 50% of our population are female, and every female is going to experience this. So it makes sense that at least one GP in each practice has sufficient training.
As an overview.
When a GP goes, when they're going through the training, menopause is a module that they're offered, and they can take it or leave it. And this is where the problem is that sometimes they're not taking it. So you may have GPs in your practice that have not touched on menopause at all. Dr. Louise Newson, who is known as a menopause doctor, so if anyone watched Davina when she came on TV, she has an app, and she has a site called Balance. And on that site, she has a link that you can send to your GP practice and ask that somebody in that practice does free training. It's free. So that's not even paid for, and I think it's 6 hours of training possibly, and then that's them ready to go. So it makes sense. It really does make sense. Women are suffering unnecessarily. Women are getting outdated information, which is scary. Which is, you know, and women are suffering physically and mentally.
Or they're being ignored.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
no, they're being ignored and not taken, not listened to, which can be really. And this is why this kind of thing is really, really important, because doctors cannot be expected to know everything, not with the crazy world that we're living in now. So we really need to take a lot more responsibility for educating ourselves and participating in our own health. You know, that's a bit of a no-brainer, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, it's our responsibility.
Well, listen, thank you so much. That's just been fantastic information. And what we'll do is we'll put you, I know your new website's under construction, but information on your next course and anything online that people can join in with you if they want to reach out. And please share this with other people that you know can benefit from this information, because, you know, education is, you know, that's where we get our power from. And a lot of the time it's just understanding that there's nothing wrong with you. It's just another stage of life. And, you know, when it comes to nutrition as well, I always said that, to, you know, particularly with women, if you're pregnant, then you've got different needs. If you're breastfeeding, you've got different needs. If your marriage is broken up, you've got different needs. You know, all through our life, that, you know, we should be fueling for the life and the stage of life that we're at. And clearly the menopause is absolutely, it's essential, because if you don't get the right hormones, you can become sick unnecessarily. And that's something that we have to, that's a message we have to get out loud and clear. And seek help and talk to somebody like yourself.
We need to take responsibility for our health as we age, definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely. It becomes more obvious. I didn't notice over 50 quite so bad, but I certainly noticed over 60. Have to pay a lot more attention and cannot get away with the things that I got away with so easily for years. Anyway, it's lovely chatting to you. You're looking fantastic. And thanks so much for your time. And yeah, if anybody's got any questions, just feel free to send Jacqui a message, or, and as I say, we'll post details for your course, etc. Okie dokie. And I'll see you soon.
Very much.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for listening, ladies. Bye.